supposedly. Okay, so I wanted to present now a window. Alamak, word ke? Cancel. Bukan. Saya buka PowerPoint. Sekejap. I'm sure that you have already downloaded all the class notes from Island. Right. So for food additive, hari ini we have 24 slides only. So we will cover this. Okay. Okay, there's another one lah. Yeah. Saya belum present lagi. Classes. Okay. I think okay. Fine. Okay. This is the slide for the food. Okay. Food additive kejap. Saya pilih presentation. Baik. Dah download ke tidak you punya slide ni? Dah buka? Dah pernah buka download? Atau you tunggu already download? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Alright. Okay, so saya nak cover ini. This is only like 24 slides. So sekejap, kita 1 jam tu kita jumpa. And then the other thing is in this meeting, I wanted to know whether you have posted ataupun you have submitted your term paper, project paper. Dah? Ke belum? Saya pun tak tengok lagi dalam sistem. Dah ke? 7 Jun kan? You did? Semua dah submit ya?
Dah betul.
Okay, Alhamdulillah. Okay, now bila kita dah discuss mengenai tajuk, mengenai tarikh untuk kita present. Bila tarikhnya? Kalau you boleh remind me again. Minggu lagi 1 ke? Minggu lagi 1. 21. 25 bulan 6. Final tak ada, kita tak ada tu lagi ya?
Belum.
Final kita yang tentukan ke? Kita kena buka. Kalau ada dapat cerita berita apa-apa? Tak ada. 26? 26 eh?
25.
25, okay, Khamis. Kita berjumpa di Khamis. So 25. Punya presentation. I might as well tulis kat sini. Nanti saya sebenarnya lupa. 25. Present. HDF 523. Okay, present maksudnya kelas kita sepatutnya pukul 8 kan? Betul tak? Kelas kita in physical hari tu jadual start pukul 8 kan? Apa yang 18/6 tu? Presentation. 25/6 ke 18/6? Korang ni buat muka krik-krik je.
25.
25 kan? Ni umur Najwa tulis 18/6. Saya tak ada masalah.
Salah memang. Salah betul. Salah tengok tarikh.
I think 18/6 tu saya nak buat test. Okay. So maknanya 18/6 is your test, first test. Second test. Kemudian 25/6 is you punya presentation. Okay. So kelas kita biasanya pukul 8 kalau in physical. Bila dah MCO, dah you duduk kat rumah ni, faham je lah pagi bangun, nak baca Quran, lepas tu nak masak breakfast, kan nak masuk baju dalam mesin, lepas tu nak sidai baju. So saya faham lah tu yang saya buat kelas pun lepas tu saya cakap saya lah tu. Okay, jadi untuk presentation tu kita tak naklah lambat sebab kita takutlah nanti bila bercakap drag, lepas tu line putus, awak nak sambung balik bercakap, benda-benda macam tu kan. Jadi untuk hari yang presentation, kita start pukul 8.30 ke macam tu. Supaya kita tak meleret kan. Kita ada beberapa kumpulan nanti akan present kan, nak bercakap. Tapi tolong jaga waktu lah sebab kita tak naklah kematu tau bontot duduk sampai 3 jam dekat kursi tunggu semua orang kan. Awak dah pernah tak? Awak dah pernah tak kelas sampai 3 jam? Online? Tak ada kan? Tak pernah? Meeting pun tak pernah eh? Tak. Saya pernah. Oh, kematu, sakit pinggang, semua badan semua sakit. Sebab kita duduk aja menunggu kan meeting. So saya tak nak nanti kita lama-lama. Tapi dalam tak nak lama-lama tu pun saya nak start pukul 8.30 supaya kita bagi masa lah kecemasan kalau line drop ke and then you terputus, keluar masuk benda-benda macam tu lah. So at least pukul 8.30 kita start sampai pukul 10.30 contohnya habis. Macam tu 2 jam. Saya rasa 2 jam boleh habis lah. Awak tak apa banyak pun kumpulan kan. Untuk presentation maksud saya. Test is online. So kalau saya kata 18/6 tu saya nak buat kelas juga 18/6 tu. Minggu depan saya buat kelas juga. 18/6. Kelas pagi ya. Okey. 18/6 kalau tak dapat hari Khamis tu sebab hari Khamis tu saya ada training juga. So saya ajak you kelas hari Rabu ke macam tu petang. Settle sebab hari Khamis tu saya ada training. Jadi minggu depan ada kelas lagi 1 jam, sekejap je. Kemudian maknanya 18/6 tu saya dah boleh post dia punya online test dalam island. Kali ni dalam island. Memang saya dah ada soalan yang saya dah biasa buat test. Memang second test saya memang selalu online. So saya selalu buat dalam platform island. So saya akan bagi notis melalui Google Classroom dan you kena masuk ke dalam sistem island. Okay, so that's settled. And then kita ada minggu yang presentation. Slide tu nanti kita bincangkan kemudian. Saya nak coverkan tajuk yang hari ini, food additive. Kemudian kita minggu depan saya nak coverkan food preservative. So minggu ni additive, minggu depan preservative. And then test, and then presentation. Dan alhamdulillah kita habis semua. Kita akan ada final exam. So final exam will be online also. You bukan antara kumpulan-kumpulan yang kena datang ke fakulti, tak ada kan? I don't think so. So kita akan buat online juga, which saya akan beritahu kemudian. Kerana esok baru saya jumpa TDA, saya nak dapatkan kepastian tarikhnya adakah saya yang tentukan atau tarikh itu ditentukan oleh sistem. Maksudnya sistem kata okey, untuk subjek ni test ni examnya begini, tarikhnya ini, dan kita ikut tarikh yang ditentukan. Kalau tidak, kita buat tarikh kita dan nanti kita bincanglah awak nak bila. Awak nak malam ke, nak pagi ke, nak petang ke, nak hujung minggu ke kan. Pokoklah manalah tahu dah start kerja pula korang dah duduk kat kampung, buat kerja food delivery ke atau buat masak-masak, hantar kat orang dalam taman. Ada macam-macam bisnes keluar sekarang kan. Mentang-mentanglah kita food service, so kita ada bisnes. Contoh. Jadi kalau kata macam tu, you nak buat malam ke nanti you beritahu. Sebab final exam saya akan bagi allocation sahaja. Saya tak bagi macam take home test. Saya tak bagi masa yang panjang. Betul-betul 3 jam awak buat. Lepas tu pulangkan. So maksudnya bila you dapat je kertas periksa, you buat dalam masa 3 jam, kena pulangkan. On the dot. Macam tu. So that's how we are going to do it. Itu yang saya dinasihatkan, itu yang saya diberitahu dan itu yang saya dah plan. Okay. So final exam kita akan discuss semula nanti. Macam mana you nak bila. Okay. Okay, untuk hari ini saya akan go through. Kalau you all ada you punya slide, you pun boleh buka you punya slide dan you boleh tulis dekat slide you. Food additive. Right. Dapat ke? Keluar dah?
Ada doktor.
Okey, alhamdulillah. Okay. Oh, bila you are presenting to everyone, yang saya punya screen ni dia keluar apa? Awak nampak? Nampak slide?
Nampak doktor. Nampak doktor.
Nampak tak?
Dan slide tu, saya tak nampak slide. Sekejap Adakah saya buka? Padahal setiap kali bila orang present, dia ada dua komputer, dia buka kiri kanan. Saya tak nampak slide. Kalau saya buka saya punya PowerPoint, nanti awak pula tak nampak. Okey. Awak nampak slide pertama kan?
Nampak.
What are food additives? Okay. What are food additives? Okay. Food additives. Okay. Ini bahan tambah dalam makanan. And usually the food additives are chemicals or ingredients which are added to food products to maintain their stability. It can be artificial or it can be a natural chemical which is added to food for microbial and chemical stability of food, because food can change in its chemical stability, and it can change due or because of microbial activities. So for that to be stopped, you want to stop the microbial and chemical changes in food, or you wanted to delay, you might want to add additive. They call it additive, bahan tambah, dalam bahasa Melayu bahan tambah. And it can be artificial, bahan yang dibuat secara kimia, yang secara tiruan. And also we can use natural chemicals. Sometimes natural chemicals such as macam vitamin C, vitamin E extracted from food that is high in E and vitamin C and vitamin E, and it is being used as additive in other food system. Contohnya vitamin E, tocopherols being used in maintaining or to extend the shelf life, shelf stability of oil. Contohnya dalam minyak, kalau tengok minyak ada vitamin E added. Okay, dipanggil tocopherols, saya tak tulis vitamin E. It is tocopherols, okay, for oil stability. But at the same time, there are also other kinds of oils that you can see it is being added BHT or BHA. That is an artificial additive, bahan kimia yang ditambah ke dalam minyak to stop its food rancidity. Because as we have learned earlier, oil can undergo oxidative rancidity. Oxidative rancidity, sometimes you do not use the oil also. You just put it on the shelf. It is it is exposed to sunlight maybe, so it can become rancid. So for that not to happen, you want it to be stable at room temperature, at a natural environment. So you add in additive. And in this case, if you look at the oil, then you see that it's a BHA or BHT, then that is artificial. If it's tocopherols, then it is a natural additive. Okay? Okay, now I move to another slide. You all tengok dia bergerak atau tak? Saya dah tak nampak awak ni, awak tak angguk pun saya tak nampak. Saya hanya nampak slide saya.
Tak bergerak doktor.
Tak bergerak. Okey, sekejap ya. Saya kejap. Tak bergerak ni, saya ni tak faham kenapa dia. Setiap kali saya bila present dia gitu. Sekejap ya. Now I stop presenting. Chrome tab, test for video and animation. The entire screen. The entire screen. Okay. Sekejap ya. This one. Present now. Present now. The entire screen. Okay. My entire screen will be the entire screen lah. Sekejap ya. And now I'm going to open my slide. Okay, nampak tak?
Tak.
Nampak juga?
Tak nampak.
Nampak muka doktor.
Nampak apa?
Muka doktor saja.
Oh, sebab Sebab enticement dia masih lagi dekat environment yang tu. Saya ingat saya boleh buka tak ya? Mana ni nak dekat ujung semester pun. Sekejap. I am presenting now. Sekejap Saya tak puas hati bila setiap kali benda ni saya nak pakai dan dia line pun slow. Hai. Okay. Atau since you said that the slides keluar tapi tak bergerak, so I just choose my slides and present kot. Okay, now present now. Present now. Okay. Okay. Ini awak nampak apa?
Slide.
Nampak slide.
Nampak slide dah.
Okay. Awak nampak slide tu satu ke awak nampak slide tu kat tepi-tepi lagi?
Kat tepi-tepi. Tepi-tepi
Sekali.
pun ada.
Tepi-tepi pun ada? Okay. Then kalau saya ubah, dia berubah tak?
Jadi. Berubah.
Okay. So, okay, kita buat macam ni je lah, boleh lah ya. Okay, types of additives. Okay, the additives just now, as I said, it can be natural, found naturally, such as extracts from beetroot that is being used as coloring agent. And just now, I gave an example of tocopherol extracted from fruit, from oil, tocopherol vitamin E from oil, and it is being used in other types of oil. Sometimes tocopherol is being extracted from product or food that is high in vitamin E, and it is being used in oil to prolong its shelf stability. That is natural. And then there's a man-made version, which is BHA and BHC just now, as I mentioned. And then this man-made version is also being known as a synthetic identical copy substance found naturally. Okay, in this case, it is such as benzoic acid being used as preservative. Other instances that we can find man-made versions is such as ascorbic acid. Ascorbic acid is also being known naturally as vitamin C, being used also for to prolong shelf life, shelf stability. And there's also artificial additive, which is produced synthetically and not found naturally. And this is betul-betul very chemical based, being used or being made from chemical. and then being used in other food systems, such as in dairy products, in semolina and tapioca puddings. Okay. And when we talk about additive, it can be in many forms. You know, it can be in terms of additive, in terms of coloring, in terms of prolonging shelf stability, in terms as antioxidant and many other functions. We will discuss that later. Okay, and then there's also how we use the additive is also being determined by its intention of use. If it's being used as directly, or you put in deliberately dengan sengaja to improve its sensory qualities such as coloring. Sometimes food, after it is being processed, it loses its natural color, so we wanted to have that effect of the color is still there, so we put in the original color. Contoh, for example, if you do jam, strawberry jam, if you cook the jam for a long time, and then you put sugar, you know, when you put sugar, the jam will be like darker, like almost brownish red. Then you don't want that to happen. You don't want your customer to see that your strawberry jam is brownish red. So you put in coloring at the end of the system, meaning that you put in red coloring so that your jam will look red rather than brown. Okay, and then some additives are being used to ease in processing and retention of quality during handling and retailing. You must understand that in food processing, the food are being processed in bulk, in mass production. So you know, the temperature is also not the same. The process may be prolonged. It must the food is being what do you call being exposed to temperature abuse, or maybe to oxygen, you know, to oxygen, to the environment. So some additives are intentionally being added to maintain the quality of food. And sometimes the additives are indirectly or unintentionally being added into the food system during handling, processing, and packaging. And these additives are such, for example, you use packaging, and the packaging was meant to be used in a low temperature environment, but maybe customer may expose the product in a direct sunlight or under high temperature abuse during transportation and during handling. So the plastic from the packaging may interfere with the taste of the food. So that is indirect food additive. It is being added unintentionally because you do not intend for your food packaging to be included in the taste of your food, but it happens. Okay, so that is called indirect food additive. Okay, and then why use food additives? Why do you want to use food additive? Now, if you pay attention, we have this movement of no additive, no preservative food. You know, you go for organic food. Okay, find out what is organic food, but some people feels that additives is still important. We still need it, especially the food manufacturing, food processing people. And this is where, when we discuss in food science, this is where, if you understand why is food additive is being used, then you might have your own opinion whether food additive is good or bad, with it, or whether it is necessary, or with it, whether it is optional. Okay. Okay. In food science, we understand that in preparation of food, the food is being produced in large scale, needed to be supplied in the supermarkets, and then to be supplied to the customer. For example, now Kuala Lumpur have like 4 million people. You know, everybody wanted to eat. During the MCO, we stock up our canned food. We stock up our tepung, gula. So when we stock up, we have the intention of using it for a long period of time, and sometimes this food additive is necessary because you might not know whether your food will turn bad in storage. So for that, you want it to be in a top condition much longer period of time. Then you wanted it to have some kind of additives. Okay. Um, and additives are also used to consistently maintain the high quality of food. Okay. In some cases, it is necessary. Okay. Okay, the Codex Alimentarius Commission has defined food additive. Okay, what is the definition of food additive? Food additive means that it is any substance not normally consumed as a food by itself. Okay, you don't eat baking powder. Baking powder by any chance, by chance is also a food additive. Okay, so we don't eat baking powder. Okay, but it is a typical ingredient. Okay, typical ingredient in baked products. So there's nobody who use like baking powder. Oh, okay, I wanted to drink baking powder drinks. Maybe no, because baking powder is a food additive. Kita tak makan baking powder, or we do not eat food additive as it is. But if we use it to enhance the nutritive value, to helps in technological purposes in manufacturing and in processing, preparation, treatment, packing or holding of such food results, or may be reasonably expected to result in its byproducts becoming a component or otherwise affecting the characteristics of such foods. Meaning that you use food additives for a purpose, to maintain its nutritive value, to maintain its quality value, okay? And we wanted the food to stay as it is, as what we intended it to be, and not change into other kind of food, okay? So the term for food additive does not include contaminants or substances added to food for maintaining or improving its nutritive value. Meaning that, for example, if during the processing of your strawberry jam, you loses vitamin C because of the temperature abuse, because of the prolonged process, because as you know, vitamin C is susceptible to heat and to light and to water because it's a water-based vitamin. So when this is lost during the processing, it's not advisable, or it's not right to include vitamin C, meaning that, oh, you know that, okay, vitamin C in the strawberry jam has been lost, so you wanted to add in vitamin C so that the vitamin C is high, contohnya dalam you punya strawberry jam. So that is not right, that is not included. That does not include food additive, doesn't being counted as food additive. Okay, it's not something that you can, something that you can use to quote unquote to deceive your customer, untuk tipu you punya customer. So if the vitamin C is lost, then vitamin C is lost. You should have maintained its process. You should maintain the processes not for the vitamin C to be lost, meaning that you have to correct the processes that can make your vitamin C lost during the processing. So rather than you include at the end of the food processing. Okay, and then functions of food additive. Okay, this is important because there are questions. There is a favorite questions. They are being asked. Functions of food additive. Why you use food additive? First, you use food additive to improve the taste or appearance of a processed food. Okay, like just now we have mentioned, and for example, this is a beeswax, okay, which is being used as a glazing agent to coat apples. Tengok apple selalu nampak macam ada macam ada lilin kan, macam ada berkilat je kan apple tu. So that glazing agent to coat apples is beeswax, okay, and this is to prolong the freshness of the fruit. Okay, the second one is to improve the keeping quality or stability of a food. Okay, for example, sorbitol. It is being added to mix dried fruit to maintain moisture level and softness of the fruit. Okay, the other functions for food additive is improve shelf life or storage time. This is very important because many types of food additives are being used for these intended purposes to improve or to prolong shelf life. Okay, this is sulfur dioxide is a chemical additive added to sausage meat to avoid microbial growth. Okay, because sausage meat is high in fat and fat and protein. Of course, meat is protein based, but it is also high in fat. So of course, you know that fat can turn rancid, and the meat is a very good environment for microbial growth. So when you do your sausage meat, you might want to put in your sulfur dioxide. But of course, there's a movement now that people tend to do their own chicken patty or beef patty because they wanted to avoid this all of these food additives. Okay, but usually that kind of meat doesn't last long, meaning that you must consume it within 2 or 3 days under strict temperature control, time and temperature control. Okay, and then functions of food additives is to ensure nutritional value, to maintain nutritional value, not to add in, but to maintain, ensure that the nutritive value is still there, is still available in the food system. Okay, and of course to maintain uniform quality and to enhance quality parameters like flavor, color, etc. Because in large scale production, these are all the elements that could turn bad during processing. Okay, the quality, the coloring. If you notice when you buy like fruit-based product, there's a disclaimer at the bottle or at the can saying that different season may produce different color fruit, something like that. So if you next time when you go to supermarket, now that you can go out, you go to the supermarket and you can see that there's a disclaimer for jams, for fruit drinks, stating that the quality, the color quality may change according to season or according to the batch of fruit. What do you call tuayan eh. Okay, classes of food additives. This is important because this is where when I said about food additive, I talk about it as in one group. Okay, food additive, or what you call chemical or natural additive that is being used in our food system. But actually, actually it can be what you call categorized further according to its preservative usage. According you categorize according to food color, food flavors, sweeteners, antioxidants, emulsifiers, acidulants, okay, to maintain acid balance in acidity balance in juice maybe, or in yogurt drink. So you wanted it to keep at certain acidity, pH acidity, and also anti-caking agents. Okay, anti-caking agents is for product that is powdery. So you don't want your Milo to be in a cake. It becomes a cake. You want it to be a powder, and also you wanted your powdered milk to be in terms of powder. It doesn't cake itself. Okay, berketul, melekat. So there's a additive for that, which is being called as anti-caking agents. Okay, what are the effects of food additives? Okay, some people claim that they eat a lot of food additives. It gives them headache. It gives the energy level changes. It alters their mental concentration, behavior, or their immune response. Okay, there are studies that has associated food additive with these effects. Okay, but at the same time, there's also studies that has shown that there would be a long-term effect such as increased risk of cancer, cardiovascular disease, and other degenerative conditions. Okay, I personally do not want to say that. Okay, there is examples of studies that has showed this kind of effects. Okay, but for people in the food processing, for people that understands the process of preparation and manufacturing of food, uh, in some level, I found it necessary to have food additives in product. But as a customer, I wouldn't want to eat um, I don't want my food to be all of my food to have food additives. Meaning that as a consumer, as a customer, I would choose my food that contain no food additives or less food additives, because if you understand that now most of our food are processed food, meaning that our what do you call, in fact, if you say that your flour is also a processed food, your sugar is also a processed food. We don't make our own sugar. Okay, and then we have our milk. Sweetened milk is also a processed food. We have our pasta. We do not make our own pasta. Pasta pun kita beli dah siap. We just rebuskan dia. So that is also processed food. And then we have sausage. We have what? Chicken nugget. All are processed food, and all processed food contain food additives. So if let's say when you graduated from our system, please bear this in mind. If you do not go into, or if you are if you are one of the manufacturers, if you are producing and you are selling food, you might want to think about how not to use food additives, because as in now, we have everything we use have food additives. Because these are the effects that has been studied and associated food additives with with risk. Okay. Okay. And then okay. These are examples of some of the additive reactions, food additive reaction towards food additive, the reactions that children or people have with food additives: ear infections, headaches, irritability, behavior, child behavior changes, and whatnot. Okay, and then we have preservative. Okay, preservative is something, or is a sub component from food additive, and it is being used to prevent spoilage of food due to fungi, bacteria, and other microorganisms. Okay, commonly used in low-fat spreads, cheese, margarine, mayonnaise, bakery products, and dried fruit preparation. Okay, these are some of the examples for preservatives: sodium benzoate, sodium nitrite. Sodium nitrite is in sausage, food sausage, chicken sausage, beef sausage. Benzoic acid, which is BHA, butylated hydroxyanisole, or BHT, butylated hydroxytoluene. This is just now, as I mentioned earlier, you can find that in all oil products. So oil is also processed food. We don't produce our own oil. Lainlah kalau you buat minyak kelapa kat rumah, masak santan sampai jadi minyak kat rumah kan. Mana tahu MCO dah buat macam tu. Okay, so these are examples. If you some of the examples of preservatives that you can see in the market or in the system, in the food system. Sodium benzoate, you can find it in carbonated drinks, pickles, sauces. Okay, siapa yang suka makan jeruk tu, okay, be careful because they have sodium benzoate. Okay, the side effects can be aggravates asthma. If you asthmatic, then you might want to totally cut out this type of food. It is suspected to have actually carcinogen and may cause fetal abnormalities. It can worsen hyperactivity, meaning that people who with hyperactive condition will be more hyperactive. Okay. And then you have nitrites and nitrates. It is also carcinogen. It has been associated to prostate, breast, and stomach cancer in humans. Okay, increased miscarriage. Okay, these are some of the side effects that has been quoted by a few studies. But like I said, there are also some studies who showed that there's no side effects. Okay, I think in the next next week we will discuss about food preservative. We will understand the E-code number and how food additive being choose or being used ataupun has been studied as in it has no effect to human, or it has no risk effect to human, then only it is being called safe. They call it grass study, generally recognized as safe. Okay, GRAS. I think we discussed that next week in our food preservative topic. So these are all the horror story. This week we'll only listen to horror story, how these additives can give you effect or risk to increase higher risk in carcinogen and cancer. Okay, color additives, we have coloring additives. So naturally now people always choose to use natural color. They don't want to use the chemical color because the chemical color is also being known to increase the risk for cancer. Okay, and then color additive. Okay, we have Alora red, Tartrazine, brilliant blue. Okay, and all our food are added with additive. So I think next time when you go to supermarket, you might want to look up what are the additives that you can find in. Tak payah pergi supermarket lah. I think after my class ni nanti pergi kat dapur, tengok kicap you, sauce you, lagi apa lagi you ada, sos tiram, lagi apa lagi kat kitchen, susu pekat manis, minyak masak, apa yang ada dekat dapur, you tengok you have all the food additives. Okay, these are all the horror stories, so you might want to read that. Okay, nitrite and nitrate, yes, there's a study that has linked nitrite and nitrate to cancer. Overseas, they have really go into this movement of eating organic, meaning eating no processed food. Even if you wanted to have a good diet, clean diet, they call it clean diet. You eat fresh, you eat a lot of fruits and veggies. You do not take processed food. In fact, they make their own chicken patty. They make their own beef patty. So you might want to consider that in your diet as well. Okay, aspartame is artificial sweetener. In some countries, in the Europe and the US, they do not recognize this as safe, the artificial sweetener. In Malaysia, we have aspartame, we have NutraSweet, we have Equal. Sometimes they do not use aspartame, but they use saccharin. And now people have found stevia. So stevia is a natural sweetener. It is not artificial sweetener. As in aspartame and saccharin, it is an artificial sweetener. Stevia is a natural sweetener derived from what do you call? From vegetable, from the leaves, from tea leaves of stevia plant. So that is generally recognized as safe. Okay. So Aspartame K is also artificial sweetener. Okay, color additives. These dangerous additives, color additives, I think has been banned from our system. Kalau you pergi dekat mana-mana dia tak ada dah, tak dijual. But now people still think that coloring not safe. So people rather opt for natural coloring rather than the artificial coloring that can be found from what do you call? From chemical. Okay, color additives. Okay, people said that it is linked to hyperactivity. Some studies state that there's no relationship between color additives, between sugar to hyperactivity. If the children are hyperactive, they will be hyperactive. And some say that children who are hyperactive or who are active is actually healthy. So it's natural. Students are more energetic and more active. Okay, so I think this is my last slide. I wanted you to have a take-home note that additive. You have to you have to make your own decision whether additive is good or not. After listening to these slides and after understanding the use of additive, you should form your own personal opinion about additive, whether it is good or it is bad, whether it is necessary or whether it is not necessary, optional, meaning if you are okay with having food that is, lame, no color, it doesn't look appealing, then it's okay. But in our profession, food service profession, the first thing that you learn to produce quality food, besides choosing healthy, natural, fresh ingredients, fresh and safe ingredients, is you wanted your food to be appealing, to have the color, to have the texture, to have you eat with your sight first, you eat with your eyes, so you wanted it to have certain quality every time it is being produced. So as I said, you should form your own opinion whether the additive is good or is bad. The thing is, when you use food additive, first of all, as a food handlers of people who deals with food, you must understand that food additives are being governed by food law and regulations. So whenever after this, when you have graduated from our system, you are working everywhere in Malaysia, in US, in the industry. Please bear in mind that whenever you wanted to use a food additive, you must refer that to food law and regulation, because it is not something that you can just, oh, I wanted to prolong the shelf life of my product, so you buy something over the counter that is being called food additive and you just add a spoonful into your maybe big products, because that is not how you use it. You must know how much you should use it to prolong your product's shelf stability, because the system or the food quality and regulation has stated it must be not more than 0.01 milligram per 1 kilogram of flour, maybe, or 0.05 milligram per 1 kilogram of flour. So you should be referring, because you are one of the people that has graduated with a food degree, then you should know that when you use our additive, you must abide to the food law and regulation. It's not that something that you can just sesaja je masukkan. No. With that in mind, I end my presentation. I hope you learn something today. Okay, I stop. Okay. Do you have any question before we end our session today? Because food additive ni something yang very what do you call, very sensitive. Okay, and I wouldn't say that because personally, if you ask me professionally, like I learn about food and I learn my degree in food tech, so I find that food additive is important. Okay, especially because you are now making food, contohnya you are making product for mass production. You wanted your product, katakan you wanted to send it to Giant. So Giant has many branches all over Malaysia. So you have to send maybe each Giant outlet one container of your product. So you can't afford to be not to use food additive. Okay. But if you are people who maybe buat perniagaan daripada rumah, you do your maybe bake products, maybe cover kawasan Lembah Kelang sahaja, you deliver within the day that you produce your product, then you might not need food additive because you punya product is being used maybe 2 or 3 days within its intended use. But for mass production, I feel that food additive is necessary. But of course, it must follow or it must abide to food law and regulation. So my note to you is that whenever you are in the food industry, you are working or you are producing your own food, please have this food law and regulation as a book of guidance for you before you use any food additive, because it is regulated. Food additives and preservatives is regulated. And I think before MCO, I got to meet an industry player, a company that produce sweetened milk without sugar. They produce sweetened milk without sugar. So they use oligosaccharide. So it's not sugar but it's oligosaccharide. Oligosaccharide is in polysaccharide, right? Yang kita dah belajar, kita ada disaccharide, which is our sugar, our sucrose, disaccharide, and then you have polysaccharide, which is starch, and then oligosaccharide yang 10, dia punya pecahan dia 10 saccharide kan, yang tengah-tengah tu. So they do not use disaccharide, they do not use sugar. They do not use starch because starch tak ada rasa manis. So they use this oligosaccharide. So they claim that is susu pekat manis tanpa gula. So the first thing that came into my mind is that when you claim that it is susu pekat manis, first susu tu mesti follow percentage. Nanti kalau biasa tengok dalam food law and regulation, you tengok percentage. Kalau you kata you susu pekat manis, dia punya susu tu mesti ada percentage between 27 to 35%. So kalau kata I nak check susu tu betul tak dalam 25 ke 35% protein dalam kategori susu, then baru you boleh kata itu adalah susu pekat manis. And then bila dia kata pekat manis, dia tanpa gula, then kita nak tahu berapa persen pemanis yang ada dalam susu pekat manis dia tu. So itu macam satu kajian yang sebelum you boleh gunakan benda tu pada label you patut you dah faham dah food law regulation. Itu yang saya nak bagi you contoh lah, so that kalau nanti bila you nanti jadi pengusaha, you ada business sendiri, you ada produk you sendiri, apa-apa hal pun you must follow your food law and regulation. Then baru you boleh kata you punya produk adalah selamat, rather than you kata I tak guna food additive. Ya betul. Alhamdulillah kalau kita keluarkan produk, kita tak gunakan food additive, ya bagus. Cuma dia punya coverage tu, berapa lama dia boleh tahan, coverage tu kat mana, tu yang jadikan dia isu. Kualiti tu berubah, kita pun tak nak produk kita berubah kualiti. Tiap-tiap kali kita produce kan, tak best lah. So quality mesti sama. So in order to maintain quality, adding food additive is necessary in some sort lah. Okay, do you have any question? Ada. Yang lainnya dah tidur ke apa ni?
Ada madam.
Ada madam. Ada doktor.
Ada. Kakak kata tidur. Okay. So for that, with that, I end my class today. You pun daripada tadi dah ada kelas kan? So kelas saya hari ni 1 jam. We'll meet again next week insyaAllah, and then next week ada test, second test. Kita dah nak hujung semester dah ni. Semester ni panjang sikit sebab kita
Madam.
Ya.
Tanya boleh tak?
Ya, tanya.
Apa test bab berapa ya madam? Saya lupa.
Sampai bab berapa? Hari tu kita test 1 sampai bab berapa?
5.
Sampai bab 5? Sampai protein. Tapi protein kita cover yang meat kan? Meat, milk dengan egg. So sampai yang itu. Yang food additive, preservative tak masuk.
Okay.
Sampai yang dah lepas tu. Yang dua ni tak masuk.
Okay.
Okay? Okay. So kalau tak ada apa-apa lagi, saya ucapkan terima kasih for coming to class. Dah nak dekat ujung dah pun. Saya ni tak dapat nak connect nama dengan muka pun awak ni. Tak ada siapa pun saya dapat connect nama dan dengan mukanya. Jumpa ni berapa kali je and then saya dah start tu. Okay, so kita jumpa lagi next week insyaAllah for 1 hour and then nanti kita keep in touch lah dalam tu. If anything, saya belum tengok lagi you punya yang submission tu. Nanti saya tengok submission and kalau sempat saya pulangkan, saya bagi grading sekali. Kalau tak sempat nanti hujung sem lah. Sebab minggu ni saya dah sekarang ni saya bukan dekat fakulti, saya dah start bekerja dekat Shah Alam. So sibuk lah sikit, dah start sibuk. So hari-hari ada meeting. So, yang macam esok kan. Sebab ada meeting.
Madam.
Ya.
Nak tanya?
Ya, siapa ya?
Afikah.
Afikah, ya nak tanya apa Afikah? Mana gambar awak?
Kalau macam dekat luar negara kan banyak restoran yang eat clean tu.
Iklim?
Eat clean. Eat clean.
Baik, okay.
So diorang memang tak pakai macam food additive apa semua tu
Ya, kalau restoran, sebenarnya kalau restoran dia lebih senang untuk tak pakai pun food additive. And when the movement mention that they eat clean tu, meaning that they produce food from scratch. Kalau dia pakai daging, katakan mince meat, dia memang ambil daging dan dia mincekan meat, daging dia tu, macam tu. Kemudian kalau kata dia buat sauce kan, dia buat from scratch sauce dia tu. Because they are highly skilled chef, so dia boleh buat benda tu semua dalam proses tu. Selalunya kalau kita kata benda-benda macam tu, kalau you masak di rumah atau you masak dekat restoran yang macam tu, then boleh, possible. Tapi kalau kata you buat, katakan you buat roti macam gardenia dia tak ada additive, dia kata memang tak ada additive pun. Tapi contohnya kalau kata you buat biskut, so biskut you ada jenis biskut lah. So kalau you dah buat dalam bentuk yang banyak, dan of course biskut adalah makanan yang kering, sepatutnya tahan setahun. So benda-benda macam tu, nak tak nak you ada some sort of food additive. Sometimes it doesn't say that it is a food additive. Sometimes dia tulis itu bahan-bahan ingredient, dia bahan-bahan ingredient. Tapi kalau dia guna je E-code number, so that is additive. Sebab tu awak ni food science ya. Food science hari tu kan ada, kita dah baca label kan? Bukan kelas awak yang baca label? Bukan kelas awak ya? Oh, kelas ni saya ajar student student nutrition, human nutrition. That is the first thing yang saya antara perkara yang the first thing yang saya ajar. Kerana bila you nak pilih makanan you, in fact makanan yang kalau you minum air kotak tu, saya minta diorang semua refer pada diorang punya packaging sendiri. tengok dekat dalam ingredient tu apa yang potential additive, mana. Selalunya dekat ingredient yang apa yang tertulis yang paling pertama sekali dalam list tu, itu adalah bahan yang paling tinggi, bahan yang paling banyak. So kalau contohnya produk tu dia kata di susu, tapi bila dibaca yang first kali dia tulis sucrosa, lepas tu baru dia kata milk, dan maksudnya air gula tu yang lebih banyak daripada susu. Kemudian baru mungkin dia ada tepung. Kita macam kenapa pula ada tepung kan? Kemudian ada pula benda-benda lain. So now after this I suggest you to go to the kitchen and start looking at the produk-produk yang dekat dalam kitchen tu. Apa produk-produk yang you nak identify mana yang food additive, because we are learning about food additive. You go and identify what are the potential food additive yang you sendiri ada dekat kitchen tu, kan? Sebab benda tu memang necessary. Buat kicap pun ada additifnya. Cuma kita tak tahu sebab kadang-kadang dia letak bahan, dia tulis dengan nama bahan kimia. Tapi kadang-kadang dia letak nama dia. Kan, kadang-kadang dia kata apa ya? Apa nak cakap? Macam-macam lah, ni kita tahu sekejap Kalau awak rajin nak tunggu, awak tunggu sekejap. Saya ni tak boleh nak bergerak sebab ada ni. Awak tak nak bergerak, saya bergerak.
Doktor ambil kicap ke?
Mungkin kot. Rasanya.
Itu.
Saya ni dah lama dah lama tak baca benda-benda kecil ni kejap. Ya, ramuan gula perang ni. Nampak ke? Saya tak nampak gambar saya lah. Hidung saya sengit pun dia tak nampak. Sekejap. Saya tak nampak gambar
Sekejap, saya pun nak ambil kicap lah.
Sekejap Mana gambar saya? Macam mana saya nak tahu gambar saya kat mana? Betul lah. Oh, awak pun duduk kat dapur. Saya duduk kat dapur juga, meja makan. So saya ambil, ni saya ambil sos. Okey. Saya cabutlah ni. Saya cakap ni. Okey. Saya ambil sos. Sos cili je. Sos cili Maggi. Dalam list yang pertama adalah dalam list yang pertama ialah gula perang. So, maknanya gula dulu ada dalam sos ni. Kemudian ada cuka. Okay, cuka is additive. Okay, cuka. Kemudian baru ada cili, baru ada bawang putih, okay, ada garam, paste tomato, okay, tak apa. Lepas tu ada monosodium peroxide sebagai conditioner makanan, they call it conditioner. That is additive. Okay. Kemudian apa lagi ni? Aduh, tak nampak lah. Sekejap conditioner makanan tu yang last kali. So, okay, sometimes, sometimes, awak dengar saya cakap kan? Saya dah cabut saya punya ni. So, sometimes dia tulis dalam E-code number. E-code, maknanya ada nombor. E117, E471, E apa macam-macam lah E, kan? Yang E tu semua nanti minggu depan kita akan cover. Kenapa food additive is banyak, okay, ada colouring, ada apa semua. Tapi minggu depan kita akan cover food preservative. Kerana food preservative ni memang rata-rata ada. Macam ni, dia ada conditioner makanan, condition. Maknanya dia tak nak, katakan ada cili, ada gula, dia tak nak separate. Macam dia tak nak cili tu mendak kat bawah, lepas tu ada air gula pula kat atas. Nanti kita tengok pun macam, apa benda ni kan. So, dia adakan conditioner tu supaya dia condition benda tu stabil aja dalam keadaan macam bercampur sahaja. Itu dia saya katakan dalam makanan kita semua ada. Itu setakat sos je. Cuba bayangkan dalam kicap ada. Dalam tepung pun ada. Kalau tengok tepung gandum, dia ada peroxide ke something. Sebab dia nak bleachkan tepung tu supaya tepung awak tu nampak putih, mulus, cantik. Okay. Kalau tengok tepung tu macam kuning-kuning, you kata tepung ni dah lama ke kan? Itu yang kita konon-kononnya dalam food manufacturing kita nak jaga tu supaya warna tu sama aja kan. So tu yang adanya conditioner, ada bleach. Dia tak tulis lah bleach, kalau you baca bleach you pun takut juga kan. So tepung dia ada bleach tu, nak colouring tu bagi putih dan sebagainya. So itu yang pada saya in some sense pada satu extent ia penting, cuma berapa banyak kita patut makan kita yang tentukan. Maksudnya bila kita pilih makanan, kita tak adalah semua pun makanan yang kita pilih adalah semuanya processed food kan. Makan ayam, bukan ayam goreng, nak ayam nugget. Ayam nugget dengan ayam goreng mana yang lebih banyak proses? Ayam goreng lah, ayam nugget lah lagi banyak proses kan. Lepas tu sausage, okay. Kalau nak makan daging, nak makan burger, lebih baik makan daging daripada makan daging burger kan, macam tu. Lepas tu kalau dari segi protein, kalau you makan tu kerana protein, then you might want to choose ikan, yang ikan saja. Tapi sekarang ni pun ada jual pula ikan filet kan, yang frozen ikan filet. So frozen ikan filet is a processed food rather than you sendiri filet ikan you sendiri ke contohnya kan. So benda macam tu, kalau you tahu yang produk yang you buat tu sendiri lagi rendah kandungan aditifnya, lagi baik lah rather than semua pun yang kita pilih ataupun makanan yang kita sediakan semuanya pun adalah makanan-makanan terproses. Sebab makanan terproses yang kalau kata dalam nutrition kita belajar, makanan terproses memang naturally dia dah ada garam, gula dia sendiri dan dia ada dia punya monosodium glutamat dia, perasa dia sendiri dalam tu dia masukkan. Jadi lepas tu bila you katakan you buat nugget, katakan kadang-kadang saya tengok dekat cafe dia buat sausage, lepas tu dia buat macam sambal kan. Saya tak tengok, saya pernah juga tengok, ataupun fish ball, lepas tu dia buat macam sos, sambal sos macam tu, gaul sekali. Saya tengok ramai juga student ada juga beli kan. So benda macam tu, fish ball tu sendiri adalah processed food, dia dah ada garam dia. Sebab dia kalau tak ada garam tu dia tak boleh melekat yang surimi flour tu, dia tak boleh melekat. So dia ada garam dia, so dia ada perasa dia dalam tu. Kadang perasa ketam, sebenarnya tepung je tu pun, tepung surimi je dia bancurkan tu. So perasa ketam, lepas tu ada warna yang oranye-oranye tu nampak macam ketam. Tapi and then bila kita masak, kita pula masak pula, bila kita masuk dalam sambal kita pun kita ada garam lagi. So those kind of thing tu yang bila kata eat clean tu is movementnya itulah dia, okay, nak kurangkan garam, gula, nak kurangkan itu makanan semua dibuat dari scratch dengan sendiri, you know, benda macam tu lah. Makan makanan yang as it is rather than macam makan ulam kan, makan ulam tu as it is rather than you masak jadikan dia sayur campur, letak garam, gula lagi dan sebagainya. So itu yang saya katakan tu, you sendiri pilih lah. Kalau you all semua kan pandai masak, dan lepas duduk kat rumah ni MCO lagi pandai masak. Okay, so if tak ada apa-apa lagi, kita end kita punya session hari ini untuk minggu ini, dan kita jumpa lagi minggu depan insyaAllah. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Salam. Thank you, Doktor.
Salam, Doktor.
Thank you, Doktor.
Selamat Hari Raya.
Selamat Hari Raya.
Selamat Raya.
Bye.
Selamat Hari Raya, Doktor.
Bye.
Thank you, Doktor.
Saya berentas negeri, Doktor.
Dah boleh.
Balik kampung.
InsyaAllah. Lepaslah habis.